here with Aly Cook, and she is a music producer and also a singer-songwriter herself. She's flying here from New Zealand and she's a busy bee. What have you been doing in Tamworth, Aly?
Well, it started off pretty straight away. Played out at the DAG Sheep Station, and then the Roll of Renown concert, which was a real honour to be asked to do this year, particularly because Lee Kernahan and his father were inducted in a first-time double induction into the Roll of Renown, so that was pretty special. Yeah. Special way to start Tamworth, pretty fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Well, because you've got two jobs and they're both so busy. How do you fit in time for being a muso? As well as just doing everything.
Yeah, I actually clone myself. I have 3 of me in operation. No, not really. Okay. Time management, excellent time management, learning to time manage, making the most of every minute of time, and delegating where I can to other people to help out. That helps to kind of fit it all in. But yeah, I do publicity and tour management, and I do some production as well for television, and then I'm an artist as well. So
everything
and 2 bands and the Southwesters, which have a separate release to the Aly Cook solo thing. So that's been a balancing act between all of that.
Yeah. When did you first start writing your music?
Well, I'd always had music in my family. My father was trained with the Guildhall School of Music as a bass baritone opera singer in London, and also as a concert violinist, and then came out here, out to New Zealand, and that's where I was born, and so I always kind of had music around me, I guess. He built PAs as well for a living, so it was always loud music.
Yeah, so you could get some free PA systems.
Well, I got to listen to them at loud levels when I was a child. Yeah, so, but mainly in those days listening to Glenn Campbell and classical music as well. My start was in classical piano, so I studied classical piano for most of my sort of childhood and teenage years, and then took up guitar later on as a teenager. Yep, but started writing at about 15 or 16.
15 or 16?
Yeah.
But how would you describe your music? Because you actually remind us of Stevie Nicks.
Oh, well, that's someone nice to be reminded of. Yeah, okay, so pretty much I just do what I do. I don't try and fit into any genre. I do what comes naturally to me, and I guess you're influenced by different people, but it's definitely a country crossover, maybe a sort of a country blues folk melding, and actually say Stevie Nicks. Well, I loved Fleetwood Mac, I mean, we all did, and all do. And so I was influenced by different writers. I also liked Neil Young a lot, so he's a clever wordsmith and writer, and Bonnie Raitt. So I take my influences from a lot of places, but I just write whatever comes into my head and my heart, really, and let it come out as it is. And I have a good producer that doesn't let me lose any of that when it comes to the production part of it, so that it keeps its identity as how I wrote things. So yeah.
Well, you come over to Australia, you mingle between New Zealand, Australia, you live in New Zealand.
Yeah.
How different is the New Zealand music industry or country music industry compared to Australia?
Okay, well, it's obviously a lot smaller. There's only 4.5 million of us for starters, so it's only really the size of Sydney, so it's a smaller industry, but it's very burgeoning. I think we've had a lot of, back in the 70s and 80s, we had a real host of country music artists that came over, and at that time they were dominating the Australian country music scene as well. Hamilton County Bluegrass Band, and Tex Morton is from the same town as me, which at the Roll of Renown I performed the Tex Morton song, and he's considered a grandfather of Australian music, yet he's from Nelson, New Zealand. It's I see the two industries as close, because there's so many now young New Zealand country artists coming over now. You've got your Kylie Prices, Kaylee Bills, your Liam Kennedy Clarks, all those guys are coming over here, and some staying here, some coming back and forth, and we're not very far away from each other, really.
Yeah, and okay. Also because you are a publicist.
Yes.
Are you your own publicist as well?
Well, that's funny you should say that. Sometimes I do some of my own publicity, and sometimes I've used other publicists as well. So when I release this next album that's coming, I'm going to use a publicist in Australia and I'm going to use a publicist in New Zealand and a separate one in the UK, as well as backing it up myself. And that's quite good because then there's somebody else out there representing me, and I have an agent as well that I use in Sydney, even though it's quite an interesting thing because my skill base enables me to actually manage myself and do my own publicity, but you can't do everything, and sometimes you still need that level of disconnection, so you actually need another publicist representing you, even though I may sit there and look over the press release and write it up and have probably a greater say in that than what maybe an artist that doesn't have a publicity background would have. But it's definitely been an advantage. And I guess when I toured here back in the early 90s as an artist, I came over as an artist, and then I got writing posters for a promoter, and that's where it all began. And I went from there to working for Michael Edgley, and also for a promoter up in North Queensland. I toured with In Excess and the Angels and Ice House and the Bolshoi Ballet and the Russian Moscow Circus, and so it went on, and I went from the girl that wrote the posters to the girl that booked the hotel to the girl that did the publicity. So I got a level of skills. Then I decided later on that I would release my own album. So it's,
do you have to, if you're an artist and you want a team behind you, you have to find all of them yourself, or could you apply somewhere and they'd organise it for you?
One of the main things is, and I think with people that work with artists, is finding someone who really believes in you.
Yeah.
You know, the people who really believe in you really want to make it happen, and you need people around you like that. And there's a lot of pitfalls out there. There's a lot of people that charge people money to market them and stuff like that, but their heart's not really in it. So it's the same when I'm looking for a publicist for me. I've got to know that publicist actually believes in me, or I'm not going to hire them actually, because it's got to be more than I pay you money and you put me in the paper. It's got to be I pay you money and you believe in me and you're going to work hard to get my thing out there. So it's got to be that way.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great rave, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You're actually the first publicist / artist I've actually really met and talked to.
Well, it's hard because you have to, it's really dividing yourself between the two is quite a difficult thing. But I've got a new album coming up, so I'm pretty excited about that.
How can people get that?
Well, that'll be out in April, so it'll be distributed here in Australia, and I'll announce who the distribution is as I'm closer to the time. Right now I have a single out called No Phone, No Mail, No Internet.
No phone, no mail, no internet. That sounds cool.
Which is a pre-release from the album. It's actually not a first single, it's a pre-release from the album that was written with Alan Caswell, one of your great writers over here, and Alan Jansen, who is my producer. So I was very lucky because they've both written #1 hits. One co-wrote How Bizarre, and the other one co-wrote that Prisoner theme, of course. That was your Alan, and of course he's been involved, and I'm sure he's been on the charts. I think every week of this year he's had a co-write with somebody.
Congratulations on co-writing with them. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean I love co-writing. That's a great thing, collaboration and bouncing off people who are great writers.
All these ideas.
Yeah, so that song's out at the moment, and then I'll be ready to release Horseshoe Rodeo Hotel's the name of the album, so look out for that.
Sounds funky. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's a bit of a crossover, so there's a few surprises on there. There's a few nice country songs for those that like it, and a few surprises that cross over.
Some surprises. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for taking time to come in here, having an interview. I've learned a lot. And how can people contact you? Got Facebook or something like that to get the album?
Yeah, so www.alycook.com, so ALY, cook without an E.com, or just find me on Facebook. I'm all over it. Facebook.com/Aly Cook Music.
You'll be over it because you're a publicist, so of course, you got everything.
I'm sure you put me in a search, and I think I have a number of profiles.
Probably.
Not that you're supposed to have more than one.
Decline. It's the clones.
That's just all the clones hard at work, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, all right. See you later.